If there was to be a full or new moon that seems to so clearly invite us to just have fun, be passionate, and maybe let go of some responsibilities, it would be this new moon that we are having in Leo on July 24th of 2025. So in today's video, let's dive into everything you need to know about this lunation. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Isabel, your spiritual girlfriend, and today we are talking about the new moon happening in the sign of Leo at 2 degrees on July 24th of 2025. Now, per usual, we can feel the effects of any new or full moon 7 days in total during this event, 3 days before and 3 days after. So this will be active from the 21st of July and all the way through to the 27th of July. So this is a whole week period. It peaks on the 24th. And in today's video, we're gonna talk about some of the major themes that are coming up with this new moon, what you should do to align with this new moon, and hopefully, if I have enough time, talk a bit about your sign's horoscope, what is invited to you to do, initiate, intend during this new moon. And seriously, this new moon really does seem to be inviting us so far in my interpretation to let loose, have some fun, and just focus on simple pleasures. And in today's video, of course, I'm gonna touch on why. But before I dive in, before we get any further, I invite you to book a reading down in the link in the description box below if you like this interpretation and you're curious to know how exactly this new moon is going to play out for you based off of your unique birth chart, your sun, your moon, your rising, and so much more. Then you may like a reading. So learn more about readings down in the description box below, and hopefully I'll remember to put it in the card up above. So first, let's talk about the basics of what this new moon in Leo is all about, and talking about how some previous recent transits kind of tie into this story, because we've had a unique storyline, I feel like, with the Leo archetype since 2024, specifically in fall. Since fall of 2024, Mars went into Leo and then retrograde, where we were taking passionate, driven, excited, playful action in a certain field of life, and then had to backtrack. We had setbacks. That's the word I'm looking for. And then in this month, as of the 18th, Mercury is in Leo and is going retrograde. And so additionally, on top of that, Venus is going to enter Leo, which is just normal. But to some degree, we've had this weird storyline since fall of 2025 or 2024, where we're trying to initiate play and passion and courage and confidence in a certain field of our life, but we keep having to backtrack and withdraw. For example, if you're a fellow Aries, sun, moon, and rising, this could be about your creative passions and your romantic life. If you're an Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising, this is about backtracks and setbacks in your relationships. If you are a Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising, this is setbacks in your career. So there's this interesting storyline that's been playing out with the Leo archetype since fall of 2024. And I do want to take that into account with this new moon in Leo, because what I'm seeing is that probably for us all collectively, we all have the Leo archetype within us somewhere in our chart. And we are feeling called to pursue passion, play in a mode of confidence and bravery since fall of 2024. But probably you've been experiencing setbacks. And now this new moon, while there is still planet retrograde, is an opportunity to initiate a new intention or new beginning related to this passion and play you've been pursuing since fall of 2024. I really felt inspired to talk about the new moon today, though I usually oftentimes let the new moons and full moons go on the back burner and not film about them because of these retrogrades. So I invite you to look back first and foremost, before we get into any other details of transits, look back to fall of 2024, specifically November through December. What were you trying to initiate around passion, pleasure, play, and fun, and then having setbacks related to? You can look to your birth chart, your sun and rising, to know where specifically you may have been trying to initiate creativity, passion, and play in more detail. But that is the first thing I want to talk about with this new moon, is that it's because of these transits, or accentuated because of these recent transits we've had. This new moon in Leo is all about us initiating passion, play, fun, pleasure, excitement, doing things for the sake of it. Leo is the second fire sign in the zodiac wheel. And so it's not necessarily the spark, it is the sustained fire. And so what I really feel like this new moon in Leo represents is asking yourself, what do I need in my life to sustain my inner fire? What do I need that is fun, that is playful to sustain myself? In a sense, what really this new moon in Leo represents is this concept that we all need passion, play, fun, lightheartedness to sustain our fire. I know this has definitely been a recent theme for me as I have a constantly changing lifestyle. I had more of an opportunity in the spring of this year to spend time having, so to say, more fun with friends, and having that a bit pulled away in my life right now, it's really brought me to reflect on how much it helps me maintain ambition, productivity, and be my best to have that mode of lightheartedness in my life. And so I think probably a similar theme is coming up for many of us during this new moon in Leo. The sun and moon co-join at 2 degrees of Leo to say, let's initiate a new beginning, a new intention, or take action towards something new that promotes passion, play, excitement, courage, bravery, authenticity, and creativity. I would love for you to rewind 10 seconds and write a list of those words I just said and ask yourself where those show up in your life. That's personally what I'm going to be doing with this new moon, at least mentally, because I'm more of a mental type than a written type, but it'd probably be good for me to write it down. Not only, though, is this new moon simply put about passion, play, creativity, initiating new beginning here somehow, which we'll talk about more what exactly that looks like and how to initiate at the end of this video. But theme is accentuated because of one major aspect this new moon forms, and that is that the sun and moon, which are conjunct at 2 degrees of Leo, are forming an opposition to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Now, I did do a video talking about Pluto retrograde in Aquarius earlier in May, and I will hopefully put it in the card up here where you can learn more about what these themes are. But Pluto in general represents our spiritual work and our need for transformation. Pluto in our chart and in astrology in general represents this concept that we need to change ourselves, that we need to go through a transformation process. Pluto rules, at least modern astrology, over Scorpio. And Scorpio is the phoenix, where we burn ourselves to become something new. Pluto represents this very same process, purging, dying, so to say, so that we can be reborn. What I'm seeing with the new moon in Leo directly opposing Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 2 degrees is that oppositions in general bring this push-pull dynamic, feeling like I'm going to go over here but I want to go over here. And it feels like you're stuck in the middle, so to say, or you have to make a choice and like you have to let go of one thing or the other. But the fact that it's opposing means to me, and the fact that this is a new moon we're talking about, that it may feel very counterintuitive to not do what is responsible for your spiritual journey, but choosing lighthearted passion and play could be the way to go. This is why I say that this new moon specifically really does seem like it's bringing up themes of just choosing fun and letting go a bit of responsibility. One of the 2 reasons, at least, I'll talk about the other transit in a minute, is because of this opposition. This opposition is saying you've been in a mode of focusing on your spiritual work. And I think a lot of my followers and subscribers would agree that they are someone who's very adamant about just being their best self, not even for the sake of just manifestation, but because of moral values and wanting to aspire to be their best. In a very Kabbalistic view, it's like healing your cocoon and becoming more like the light of the creator. I think that's a very major audience, at least for my channel. But in general, the idea with this new moon is that you may feel like you've been doing a lot of self-transformation work to be more detached, be more focused on a greater vision, and be more focused on selfless service towards humanity in a certain realm of your life. Whether that is through doing self-transformation work or being more active in your career, being selfless, or focusing on your health habits in a more neutral way, there's somewhere where you've been practicing detachment, neutrality, and individuality and trying to probably focus on self-transformation since this is Pluto. But the fact that it's opposing Pluto, that is the new moon, is an invitation to let that go on the back burner for a while, because after a while, Pluto, if we are constantly transforming ourselves and burning ourselves like the phoenix to be reborn, eventually we're just constantly being self-destructive. And that is what this new moon is bringing to light is, hey, you've done the work in many ways, and now's the time for you to just choose play. Now, the fact that this is specifically in opposition tells me that there may be a moment during this new moon where you're choosing something that feels irresponsible. And I say quote unquote because this doesn't mean actually fully irresponsible, nothing like, I don't even want to give examples, but it may feel irresponsible to the recent growth work you've done, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. That is what this opposition brings to light. And I'm not going to go any further in explaining that because I do want to talk about some other transits and I don't want this video to get too long. But that's an overall theme to notice is you're going against the grain of what feels responsible and focused on being your best self. But maybe what's best for you right now is to choose what sounds fun, light, playful, and requires a bit of courage. So this new moon in Leo makes one other major aspect that I want to talk about because it really accentuates this theme of maybe releasing a bit of responsibility. That is that the sun and moon in 2 degrees of Leo form a trine to Neptune and Saturn, both of which are retrograde, I think, as of the time of, retrograde in 1 and 2 degrees of Aries. So technically Saturn's retrograde in 1 degree of Aries, whereas Neptune is retrograde in 2 degrees of Aries. But nonetheless, this is a trine. A trine is a friend in battle, forming a crisp high five, so to say, to aid this new moon. With Neptune and Saturn retrograde, the major theme I want you to focus on with Neptune and Saturn, specifically retrograde, is we've been adamantly, since the beginning of this year, or throughout June, let's even just say, been proactively working towards idealistically upholding standards for who we want to be in a certain field of life. We've probably been trying to tell ourselves since May, let's say, of I don't need anyone, I can be independent. It's more noble or more responsible to be independent. I need to set my boundaries. There's a mode of a bit isolation, but isolation for the sake of self-fulfillment and independence in a very healthy way. It's like the stereotypical, I think, of setting boundaries. Maybe it was like for you specifically, you moved out from your family and you said, I'm setting this boundary that they can only come over once a week. But since these planets have gone retrograde, we're reflecting on the independence and idealistic standards that we have set for ourselves recently, saying, is this serving us? Is it serving us to be so tough, independent, and need no one? This is also a theme I've talked about with Jupiter entering Cancer, as these are very hand in hand together. These two retrogrades combined with Jupiter and Cancer both go hand in hand. Again, I have videos talking about this. If you want to go deeper into this topic around what exactly Neptune and Saturn are bringing up, check out my Jupiter and Cancer video and my videos about 3 planets going retrograde and my video on Saturn entering Aries. I'll have these. Hopefully I'll remember to put them all in the cards, but if you just search for those keywords on my page, you'll find them. The point being though, how does this affect the new moon? With Neptune and Saturn retrograde right now, we are reassessing the independence we've established and how idealistic we're being about our expectations of independence from ourselves. And so the fact that this is forming a trine to the new moon in Leo tells me that maybe some levels of independence and tough attitude that we're relinquishing can help us pursue play a bit more. That is my personal interpretation. Does this mean that you're fully letting go of all forms of independence, self-assurance, self-confidence, and personal freedom? No. But it does mean that maybe retracting some of your authority, retracting some of your ideals, retracting some of your expectations of yourself could be a way that you find more play. There's an interesting relationship here because Aries and Leo are both fire signs. And so what this trine does mean is that pursuing passion and play and fun and excitement and thrill during this new moon is encouraged because of this trine. But it also does have its differences. Leo, in a sense, kind of accepts more that they need people, is kind of what I'm seeing this as in my personal interpretation. Aries is the total Z-snap, I don't need no man kind of energy. They're initiators, they walk their own path by themselves. They're the ram who charges things head on. Whereas Leo is the lion, and the lion needs its pride. We never hear people saying it's the lone lion, the lone lion. We hear the lone wolf, but this is the lion we're talking about. They need their pride. And this is also why Leo's known for liking to be the center of attention, because they accelerate their passion, they uplift their passion and uplift others the more they have people to bounce off of and be a sounding board with. And this is also, again, something that I think this opposition is highlighting, is this idea of maybe you don't need to be so responsible for the world. Maybe you just need to show up as who you are and share your passion, joy, and excitement. And this can bring you personal fulfillment, but also help you create a ripple effect on humanity instead of thinking of this in terms of responsibility. So, in case I haven't made that clear enough, with the opposition between Pluto retrograde in Aquarius and the trine to Neptune and Saturn retrograde in Aries. I had to make sure I said that right. There's an invitation with this new moon not only to just initiate a new beginning or new intention related to passion, play, creativity, excitement, and confidence and courage, but it is accentuated that maybe there is a need to surrender some level of personal pressure that you put on yourself, self-control, or responsibilities that you give yourself of who you should be to make space for this passion and play. And not only by doing so do you bring more passion and play to your life for your own self-fulfillment, but you create a more positive effect on humanity. In the end, like I said, Leo is the sustained fire. And so the idea is when you sustain your fire, you can warm other people. Think of the sun being radiant, warm. Every day it rises and every day it's there. How can you sustain yourself? By maybe taking a bit of a load off in pursuing passion, play, and fun. Final note, the fact that Mercury is retrograde in 13 degrees of Leo during this new moon in Leo, you may be revisiting a conversation, hobby, interest, or something that you were working on recently since fall of 2024, or even just recently now. There's an idea of revisiting something with Mercury retrograde, and so maybe you're revisiting an old person, place, hobby, and that could be something that refuels a new passion. We are going to talk about horoscopes for a minute, but before we do so, I do want to give you guys your do and don't list of what I would advise or maybe encourage during this new moon, because new moons are a time to initiate new beginnings, new intentions, start something new, or initiate something mentally new. And so in the end, as your final reminder, if you're going to ask yourself, how can I align with this transit? What am I being called to do? What is the invitation from the stars? Ask yourself the following, or pursue the following. Pursue passion, play, creativity, and excitement, especially the things that make you feel like you're maybe to some degree uncomfortably seen, or just in general, stepping out of your comfort zone. Asking yourself, what am I passionate about? What makes me feel light? How can I be more radiant? Are the kind of questions to ask yourself during this new moon. Now, looking to the specific house it's happening in will help you know where you maybe need to embrace being seen more and pursue more passion and lightheartedness. But of course, based off of your horoscope, you'll know what houses is happening in. But I think it's very powerful to kind of tune into your heart space first, not just to sound like a stereotypical hippie, but genuinely, because there's probably been a calling of your heart that you've been trying to pursue since fall of 2024. On and off, and having issues with. Maybe it was fall of 2024, November, December, and then it felt like it fell off the handle and then resurfaced in April and May. So take a moment to think about, what is a calling of your heart? What would make your life right now more fun, more exciting, more passionate, and more playful? Does it require you to change how you're showing up? Or is it something you need to change doing? Is it an expectation of yourself? Are you putting a pressure on yourself that needs to be released? I think that's a pretty well-rounded list of kind of things to contemplate, consider, and then adjust accordingly too. So with that all in mind, let's talk about your sign's horoscope, just specifically around where you could be initiating new intentions. I'm not going to touch on what exactly houses for Pluto in Aquarius and Neptune and Saturn in Aries are affecting each sign, because the general theme is that there's just somewhere where maybe you're putting too much weight on yourself, too much pressure, too much responsibility, and trying to be your best self. But is your desire for self-development and self-growth becoming self-destructive? So Aries, sun, moon, and rising, the new moon in Leo is happening in your 5th house. So initiating a new beginning or new intention around your creativity, your passions, and your romantic life is what is encouraged. Look back to fall of 2024, November, December, as well as April, May, and June to see maybe where you've been pursuing and working and having to backtrack on themes regarding your creativity and your passion, because now could be the time that you initiate something new here. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. The new moon in Leo is happening in your 4th house. So you are called to initiate a new beginning or new intention related to your home, family, and place of living. Look back to fall of 2024, November, December, as well as April, May, June of this year. What have you been doing related to your family? How have you been trying to pursue more passion and lightheartedness here? And how have you had to backtrack specifically in regards to this home improvement, so to say, and this lightheartedness in your home? This new moon is a great time to initiate something new regarding your home that makes you feel more light, courageous, playful, and excited. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising, the new moon in Leo is happening in your third house, inviting you to initiate a new beginning or new intention related to your social network and content creation. So your daily digital network, such as social media and the content you share on social media, or in your physical network, the people you see on a daily basis, whether that's your neighbors, your co-workers, your siblings. Who do you see on a daily basis? Initiating something new here that is passionate, playful, and lighthearted is what is encouraged. Look back maybe to fall of 2024, November, December, as well as April, May, June of this year. What have you been trying to do in this realm of life? Pull from the past to get an idea on what you want to initiate now. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. The new moon in Leo is happening in your second house of wealth and worth, inviting you to initiate a new intention or new beginning related to your finances and your self-worth. Look back to November, December of 2024, as well as April, May, June of this year. What have you been trying to initiate, change, or work on in matters related to your finances, your self-sufficiency, your self-stability, and your self-security? How have you been trying to create more passion, play, and excitement here? Pull from the past to get an idea on what exactly you want to intend and initiate during this new moon in Leo, as you are being called to initiate something playful, lighthearted, passionate, and exciting related to your finances or self-worth. Changing something in your self-worth and finances so that you can feel more playful. Leo, sun, moon, and rising, you are the center stage, as you probably love, during this new moon in Leo. And so you are being called to initiate a new beginning or new intention related to you. How you show up in the world, how you present yourself, your appearance, your energy, your vibe, who you are. You want to initiate something new with who you are. And so I would recommend you look back to November, December of 2024, as well as April, May, June of this year. What have you been trying to do in matters related to your sense of self, how you perceive yourself, and how others perceive you? How can you enable more courage and playfulness with your sense of self during this time, as this is what you're called to do during this new moon? Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, with the new moon in Leo in your 12th house, you're being called to initiate a new beginning or new intention related to the blockages that you unconsciously hold in your relationship with solitude. The 12th house is the house of the unconscious mind, your inner work, and your solitude. And so I recommend that you look back to fall of 2024, November, December, that is, as well as April, May, June of this year, 2025, and ask yourself, what have you been doing in matters related to your inner work, working on your psychology, spending time in solitude, meditating, and understanding your unconscious fears or traumas? Now is the time to initiate something new around this realm and pick something to initiate specifically that encourages passion, play, fearlessness, and lightheartedness. Libra, sun, moon, and rising, the new moon in Leo is inviting you to initiate a new beginning or new intention regarding your purpose and community. I invite you to look back to November and December of 2024, as well as April, May, June of 2025. What have you been doing regarding your community and your purpose around those time frames? What were you trying to improve? Where were you experiencing setbacks? How were you experiencing setbacks? Pull from the past to get an idea of what it is you're being called to initiate during this new moon in Leo, and pick something that specifically invites you to embrace more passion, play, curiosity, courage, and lightheartedness in your community and your purpose. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. The new moon in Leo on the 24th is inviting you to initiate a new intention or new beginning regarding your career, as well as your public image, meaning your professional public image. So this could do with the job or how you present yourself in said job. I encourage you to look back to fall of 2024, specifically November and December, as well as April, May, and June of 2025. What were you doing in regards to your career, profession, and professional image during this time? How were you presenting yourself as an authority? The new moon in Leo on the 24th is inviting you to initiate a new beginning here in your career, in your profession, and in your professional image, to choose something that is more lighthearted, passionate, and maybe requires a bit of courage. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising, the new moon in Leo on the 24th is inviting you to initiate a new intention or new beginning regarding your personal beliefs, travels, and ideologies. If you are part of a religion, if you are interested in a certain religion or philosophy, now's the time to do something new here. If you've had the travel bug, now's the time to plan a new trip. In the end, I encourage you to look back to fall of 2024, specifically November and December, as well as April, May, and June of this year, 2025, and ask yourself, what were you doing during these time frames regarding your personal beliefs, your personal ideologies, religion, philosophy, spirituality, and travel? Or maybe even if you were in contact with someone from a foreign place, a faraway place, if you had anything to do with a faraway country during this time. Foreign lands, foreign shores is the idea. Now with this new moon in Leo is the time to initiate something new related to the experiences, places, and ideologies you learn about that cultivate your perception and personal beliefs of this world, that specifically accentuate your values for living, specifically the experiences that you seek to have. Initiate something new, simply put, around your personal beliefs, ideologies, and travels potentially that invites you to be more lighthearted, courageous, and playful. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising, the new moon in Leo is inviting you to initiate a new intention or new beginning regarding your intimate relationships and codependent relationships. Meaning specifically, is there someone that you're dependent on? Is there someone that's dependent on you? What are your personal inner beliefs and workings around codependency? What is your attachments? How do you handle attachment and trust? How do you handle codependence? So this could be about the inner workings and beliefs regarding codependent relationships, or this could deal with an actual codependent relationship, whether it's romantic or platonic or familial, that you have in your physical reality. I encourage you to look back to November and December specifically of 2024, as well as April, May, and June of 2025. What was going on in your codependent relationships then? What was going on with your beliefs around and feelings around codependent relationships? Were you doing deep healing work around your attachment style then? Were you dealing with someone who was a codependent partner, or you were trying to pursue an intimate relationship with? Look back to these two time frames to know what you're being called to initiate during this new moon, and choose something during this new moon that encourages lightheartedness, courage, playfulness, and excitement. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising, this new moon in Leo happens your direct opposite sign. You're in the spotlight. It's a very challenging new moon for you in particular, as it forms an opposition to Pluto in your sign right now. How are you doing, my fellow Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising? The good news is that this new moon in Leo is inviting you to initiate a new beginning in your relationships, both romantic and platonic, and also business partnerships. So I encourage you to look back to fall of 2024, specifically November, December, as well as April, May, and June of 2025. What partnership was in the forefront, or what thoughts were present and prevalent around partnerships during these two time frames? Maybe you were dealing with a problematic relationship romantically, or maybe you were dealing with something platonically, or maybe you were dealing with a business partner. What was going on in your one-on-one connections during these time frames? Whatever you find, this past experience can help you understand what you're being called to initiate during this new moon in Leo on the 24th. Whatever you pick though, make sure it's something that encourages lightheartedness, courage, and playfulness. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising, the new moon in Leo is inviting you to initiate a new beginning related to your health, your habits, your routines, and your daily work, especially those who work a 9-to-5 job or have to clock in, clock out, so to say. This is especially applying to you. Not so much my entrepreneurial Pisces. This is not about your work, but regardless, your health and your habits and your routines are in the spotlight for all Pisces, sun, moon, and risings. I encourage you to look back to November and December of 2024, as well as April, May, June of 2025. What was going on in your health and in your habits and in your routines and in your work during this time? Looking to the past can give you an idea of what exactly you need to initiate during this new moon in Leo, but regardless of what you find, make sure that what you choose to initiate aligns with lightheartedness, playfulness, and maybe even requires a bit of courage. I believe that covers everything that you need to know regarding this new moon in Leo, but be sure to stay tuned on my YouTube shorts where I share more updates as we get closer to this lunation on things that I recently find insightful so that you can get further advice and guidance for this transit. Let me know your sun and rising down in the comments below. Are you feeling the energies of this new moon in Leo? Was my advice, guidance, and horoscope for you somewhat accurate? Are these areas of life where you feel called to initiate new beginnings? And are these areas where you maybe have experienced backtracking and setbacks in November, December of last year, as well as in April, May, and June? Have you seen movement here, progress? Has this been very relevant in your life around these time frames? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and stay tuned for more videos breaking down the stars and more. If you want to dive deeper into how exactly this new moon in Leo is going to play out for you so that you can align with these super lighthearted energies, which can be such a relief during this whole Saturn retrograde and Neptune retrograde and Pluto retrograde season, I invite you to book a reading. The description box down below has the link. Hopefully I'll remember to put in the card up above as well. Again, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned for more videos. Let me know what you want to hear about next on the channel. Let me know what transits you're interested in. Hopefully I'll have time to film August horoscopes, but if not, just be sure to stay tuned on the channel where I always try to share what I feel is most relevant for you, even if I don't get around to what astrologers are considering most relevant right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sincerely hope you enjoyed. Once again, my name's Isabel, and from my heart to yours, namaste.